Hello students, welcome to my next session. Today we are going to talk about globalization and world-class manufacturing. I, Dr. Ron Prabhakar Devale, welcome you all. So this is the structure of this particular unit. So we are going to learn about the business strategy and global competitiveness, then generic manufacturing strategies for information age. Then third part is developing strategic thinking in manufacturing. Then fourth is issues in strategic planning for world-class manufacturing. Fifth point is barriers for using IT strategically. Next is strategic planning methodologies for world-class manufacturing. Then we are going to learn about implementing the world-class manufacturing plan. And last part will be need for performance measurement. So first we'll start with the first point, that is business strategy and global competitiveness. So the term strategy has become one of the most overused and broadly defined word in the business literature. Strategies are derived from and emerge from a firm's complex set of business, then a competitive, organizational, and environmental circumstances, and are not often clearly articulated or universally agreed upon. According to the Michael Porter, he neatly sum up the concept of strategy as emerging to help the managers transform their daily chaos of events and daily activities and decisions into orderly ways of sizing up the firm's position in its existing environment. So he proposed two models in 1990, 1980, and 1996. In this way, useful strategies enable the trade-offs and choices and provide guidance for decision making throughout the firm. According to Mintzberg, a strategy is a firm's collective intention, where formulation and implementation merge in a fluid process through which the creative strategies evolve. Strategies continually change, and the strategy of the successful firm is opportunistic and adaptive. Given this perspective, the strategies must be sufficiently specified, articulated, and communicated to develop and allocate resources appropriately. Now, we can refer as a strategic context in the terms of the three constructs. That is, the strategic context, if you're going to talk about, then you should know about what is the strategic intent. Then, what do you understand by current strategy and what are various business goals? The strategic intent of a firm specifies its long term, stable goals, a worthwhile destination for where a firm desires to go, and which should require a stretch for the particular firm. Current strategy specifies how the firm will do business today. The combination of products and services offered to the existing customers or the potential customers, what are various channels and prices and quality levels. Current strategy have relatively short lives, and many firms have new ones every 12 months or so. The business goals of a firm emanates from the strategic intent and current strategies and include quantitative and qualitative business targets. This measures to determine the progress. So, competitive strategy, according to Michael Porter, is the process of perceiving new positions that woo the customers from the established positions or drew new customers into the existing market. In this context, there is a need to distinguish between the operational effectiveness and a strategy. So, operational effectiveness, what is operational effectiveness? That means performing similar activities or similar functions better than one's rivals. Whereas a strategic positioning entails performing activities different from that of the rivals or performing similar activities in different ways. In another word, you can say that. So strategic positioning of the firms are often not obvious, and finding them require creativity and insights. For example, new competitors in the industry discover or often discover unique positions that have been available but overbooked by the established competitors. But most new competitive positions open up because of the change. New customer group arises, new need emerge in the societies, and new distribution channels appear. New technologies are developed almost every year, and new information systems become available. These various changes creates opportunities for new competitors that has been maybe lag behind the competitors by a long history of the industry. So, thus creating a potential for new ways for the competing. For instance, the emergence of the internet has opened new channels, giving rise to new competitive strategies, both for manufacturing sector as well as service sector. Next, we'll talk about generic manufacturing strategies for information age. Most manufacturing companies are now experiencing rapid and continuous change in their business environment, which can be identified in terms of product change or maybe in terms of process change. Product change characterizes the demand for new goods or new services. Companies change their products because of the competitors' moves, shifting customers' preferences, or maybe entry of new geographical or national market. Process changes refers to altering the procedures or the technologies used to produce or deliver the products and services. In this context, a process broadly refers to all the organizational capabilities resulting from the people, system, technologies, and procedures that are used to develop, produce, market, and deliver various products and services. Now, just look at this figure. This figure is about the manufacturing strategies for change. So, these two types of change can be classified either as stable or dynamic. So, stable change is slow or evolutionary and generally predictable, while the dynamic change here is rapid or often revolutionary and generally unpredictable. Taken together, these two types of changes provide a matrix of four possible combinations of change conditions that can confront an organization. Thus, a matrix can be built in which each of these combinations define a strategic business model appropriate to the conditions that is given in this particular figure. So we have talked about the mass production, mass customization, what is innovation and continuous improvement. So this matrix manufacturing strategies can serve as a valuable lens through which the organization can assess its competitive position by understanding where it has been in the past. Also, the organization can continuously choose a strategic business model appropriate to its present environment or maybe appropriate to its anticipated future environment. Also, organizations can classify and clarify how to strategically align the business and IT strategies, then infrastructure and processes appropriate model to the strategic model. The matrix combination and the relevant manufacturing strategies now we will just describe. First, we'll talk about dynamic product and process change, that is the quadrant of innovation. So, innovation strategy. So, just remember these four parts. We'll talk about the mass customization, then mass production, continuous improvement, and innovation because I will not come back to this particular PPT again. So we'll talk about the dynamic product and process change, that is innovation strategy. So innovation quadrant. So the focus of the innovation strategy is to frequently create small volumes of new products while constantly innovating the processes required to develop and produce them. These organizations are often separate research and development units within the mass production organization, such as Bell Laboratories. You can take example. So such organizations are inherently designed for change since product specification and work processes are unpredictable and constantly shifting. To compete under the innovation conditions, organizations decentralize the decision making, broadly define the jobs, develop few rules or procedures, and subjectively evaluate the performances of the process and the workers and all. Next is a stable product and process change. That is the quadrant of mass production. So, mass production strategy. Throughout the 20th century, most large organizations have completed under these conditions of relatively stable and predictable product specification and demand. This permits them to standardize the products, then centralize the decision making, routinize their work, and reward, develop, and enforce standard rules and procedures. Also, allocate work to dedicated specialized jobs, that is, mass produce goods and services. The focus of these firms is on efficiency through stability and control, always by basing their strategies on economy of scales, that is, low cost, and striving for the large size and lowest cost structure in the industry. The organization structure of such firm is often large and hierarchical and vertically integrated. Their competitive advantage and profitability are based on reduction of the unit cost, and therefore change in either process or product is referred to the mass production strategy. Consequently, the design for stability requires limiting both product variety as well as the process innovation. While mass production and innovation have been the predominant focus of the competitive strategy during the 20th century, today the situation has changed. With neither simultaneous dynamic product dynamic process change nor simultaneous stable product and stable process change. In such a situation, we are having two more new strategies. So next strategy is dynamic product, that is mass customization. So dynamic product change and a stable process change, that is the quadrant of mass customization. So organizations in a number of industries are facing customers making increasingly unique and unpredictable product demands. However, the basic processes and these companies are instituting to meet these demands soon evolve into identifiable patterns, enabling them to build stable but flexible platforms. So, flexible platforms of process capabilities. Such companies therefore need to be organized and managed for mass customization. So, it is the ability to serve a wide range of customized and meet changing products and demands through a product variety and innovation, while simultaneously building on the existing long-term process experiences and knowledge that result in increased efficiencies. The focus of these firms is on individual customer fulfillment through flexibility and responsiveness. The major distinguishing the characteristics of the mass customization strategy is the capacity to produce the product variety rapidly and inexpensively. This requires a set of modular process capabilities with a linkage system that allows them to be brought together instantly for any particular customer order. Consequently, instead of centralizing all decision making for a single value chain, these organizations centralize coordination and control in a hub of a web of loosely linked processing units. Last quadrant is the stable product and dynamic process change, that is continuous improvement. So continuous improvement in some industries such as automobile, then machine tools. The nature of product demand is still relatively mature, stable and large and homogeneous. But the competition in this industry is based on the dynamic process terms. That is, the organizations are competing by achieving the constant improvements in the process quality, also constant improvement in the speed and as well as cost. The focus of these organization or the focus of the organization in this industry is on the customer satisfaction through the process improvement, as opposed to the mass production firms. They are very customer or market focused, striving to better satisfy the market as a whole through continuous process improvement. These organizations manage rapid innovations and the use of new process capabilities, and therefore require systems and structures that facilitate the long-term organizational learning about the products, but simultaneously achieving the radical changes in the processes as well. To make the process innovation efficient, these organizations employ cross-functional teams and collaborate to improve the processes to or plan for the product enhancement. The members of these teams then run their functional specific work and execute the rules they just developed. So accomplishing a sort of a micro transformation, you can say. So in this sense, the team of continuous improvement firms need to be a process innovative as invention organizations and process efficient as a mass production firms. So this was the explanation of the quadrant. Now we are moving to the third learning, that is the developing strategic thinking in manufacturing. Here also we are having one more nice diagram, and we are asking few questions to the organizations. So we'll start with this developing strategy thinking in manufacturing. What is strategic thinking? So strategic thinking is concerning with the future development of business enterprises as a whole. It usually describes as long term, but how long depends on the industry in which the firm operates. Thus, in the pharmaceutical or aircraft construction industries, long term planning means 10 years or more, but for a small software company, it might be long term planning might be for 2 years. Most managers feel that 3 to 5 years is a realistic limit for their long term planning. Most also feel that this period is getting shorter because of various competitive pressures and the general speed of business increases. Another important point here is that strategic thinking is about constructing the future rather than predicting the future. So it is creative in the sense that the enterprises identifies where it wants the business to be and then thinks about how to go there. So strategic thinking requires answers to the three important questions that is given in this particular PPT. So these are three questions. Where are we now? So you have to do SWOT analysis, that is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. I know I just think that you already know what is SWOT analysis. So next question is, where do we want to be? So that is your vision. So companies are establishing or creating their vision statements. So you must have heard about vision statement, mission statement, various objectives of the organization. That is called as the strategic intent of that organization. So firm first of all they have to analyze themselves, then there should be a vision, and after the vision, the third question is very obvious: how will we get there? Like our projected target. So how we are going to accomplish our vision? So how we are going to accomplish our vision is using the strategy. Okay, so first question, where are we now? This takes stock of the current business situation, both in terms of the enterprise itself and the business environment in which the business operates. It is often done by the familiar SWOT analysis, that is, so identify your strengths, then identify what are the company's weaknesses, what you cannot produce, and what the competitors are producing. And in strength, you will analyze what best you can do that competitors are not having the characteristics or products, etc. So, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Then what are your opportunities? So maybe in that particular area you are having very large customer size, or your demand is very high, or maybe you are expanding in foreign areas, such type of various opportunities, or maybe product prices will increase in your future, or you will be getting raw materials at cheaper cost. Okay, so what are opportunities so that your business will grow, and what are various possible threats? So maybe new competitor from the foreign market is coming to the your competition with the superior quality and with the lower cost. So that is threat for your organization. So similarly, you have to analyze these SWOT analysis. The next question is, where do we want to be? This requires a creative and imaginary response after digesting all the details arising from the first question. It requires the ability to consider the novel opportunities, perhaps based on the new use of technology in the business. The answer to this question is expressed as the vision for the enterprise for some time in the future. Deriving directly from this may be the mission statement. So after vision, it will be followed by mission statement, which is a simple narrative statement of what the enterprise aim to be or to become, stated in the form of series of business objectives. So vision will be followed by mission, and mission will be followed by various 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like business objectives. The vision and mission statements together describe the strategic intent of the organization or company. So if you are just more curious about what is vision, mission, and various objectives, you can go to any website of any reputed organization, and there you will be find there you will definitely find vision, mission, and uh, objective statements. Or any organization or any institution like our college also, if you just go on the website, then you may find vision, mission, and objective statements. Then third obvious question is how we go there. That is in the battlefield, how you are going to win now. So answer to this question will produce a broad plan for getting the firm from its current position, that is defined in the first question, that is the current position, and to from its current position to where the firm wants to be, so that is defined in the second question. So the journey from first question to second question, how you are going to do this broad plan of development, is called as the current strategy. It is usually expressed in the narrative terms, with few quantified aspects as well. So So this was the question 2 and question 3 that I have already discussed. Now, what are various issues in strategic planning for world-class manufacturing? So earlier slides where you may find that syllabus in the business strategies. So strategy business, you will find that syllabus. So what are issues in strategic planning for world-class manufacturing? So the manufacturing function of an organization is primarily concerned with the internal activities, that is various production processes, where the other functions like marketing are involved primarily in external operations, that is customer contact. Furthermore, the manufacturing capabilities of an organization determines how effectively the marketing function can satisfy the customers. Consequently, the manufacturing decisions can often instrument in restricting, reinforcing, and determining of the firm's overall strategy. Thus, an effective business strategy can only be developed by fully integration manufacturing decision it to the strategic planning processes. However, in order to accomplish this, a number of issues need to be addressed. These issues are involvement of line managers in strategic planning, then lack of planning orientation in manufacturing culture, also lack of IT usage in strategic resources, and lastly need for a formal planning methodology. So I will just explain all these points. First is involvement of line managers in strategic planning. So in many organizations where planning is identified as a separate function, it is still carried out by the planning group that in many cases does not include the line managers or line operating managers or the floor managers. However, planning performed by a planning staff in a vacuum generally results in sufficient implementation. It must therefore be realized by the companies that planning is a management tool for line managers. Therefore, operating managers must become deeply involved in the planning to reduce the risk of planning implementation failures. Next is lack of planning orientation in manufacturing culture. In many organizations, involving the operating managers is a major problem since the traditional manufacturing culture does not encourage planning. However, one of the keys of the IBM's success is that its managers never stop planning, and this becomes a major part of any manager's job in IBM. This view must also be propagated throughout the culture of manufacturing in order to enable the businesses to operate more efficiently. Next is lack of IT usage in the strategic resource as a strategic resource. Some companies manage IT or information technology merely as a technology, and some other perceive IT as enabler of the information management. The technology view of IT sees the cost as an operating expenses, and therefore in these companies the attention of the management is primarily focused on reducing cost for efficiency sake. On the contrary, the organization using IT for information management views information as a corporate resource, see as the IT as the capital investment for which the maximum management attention should be given on maximization of its breadth. When the IT strategy provides the framework for what is spent, then the spending can be defined as investment. However, when there is no sense of direction, then IT spending may simply presents or represents an ongoing expense. This shift in perception changes IT budgeting as a separate issue to business goals with business profitable projects. IT investment levels are frequently quoted in revenues ratios, and according to many experts, they should be in the range of 1 to 5% in case of organizational investing in IT successfully. According to the recent survey of top 50 IT spending companies in India, there was only one company spending over more than 4% in its revenue on IT. Five companies were spending more than 3%, three companies were spending more than 2%, and eight companies were spending uh, less than 1%. And rest companies were spending more than 1%. So most of these companies perceive that IT could improve their business efficiency and productivity and may give better access to the information. So only about 15% of these companies believe that IT could provide the customer satisfaction and could give marketing and sales advantages. So we believe that this is the serious issue that need to be addressed through the proper education and further research. Last point is need of a formal planning and methodology. Another problem facing the planning is the absence of formal planning processes, that is formal methodologies. To translate the strategic vision of the company into an implement role or long-term action program in any internal function to obtain the competitive advantage and move it towards the world-class performer. So there can be few methodologies like barriers to using IT strategically. So we'll just talk about this. So one researcher, his name was Cantrell. In 1980, he argues that in order to expedite the strategic opportunity arising from the technology and entrepreneurial attitude for senior managers is required to first view the new technology as a central part of the business thinking that is displayed on the PPT, then examine how the key decisions of senior managers can be affected by new technology, then examine the cross-functional organizational utilization of the technology and consider the planning and production process required to exploit the technology. So, whereas an increasing number of companies in India are adopting this attitude with regards to the manufacturing technology that are relevant to their industries. They are not doing the same with respect to IT. Another barrier to strategic use of IT in a corporate environment where the middle management is adverse to the risk. Uh, if there is a intolerance for the new ideas related to IT use, whomsoever they may come from, there is no change that they will be accepted. The idea may be simply rejected and often with the reason that it will never work because it is not the way things are being done here. Similarly, companies that do not take a long-term view of funding IT applications, research and development creates a final barrier, is rewarding short-term success and punishing the failure. Creative IT application cost more and takes longer to develop. If IT people receive bonus based on the short-term performances, they may not likely to work on long-term innovative projects. Next is strategic planning methodology for world-class manufacturing. The planning process proposed here focuses on translating the strategic vision of a company into an implementable long-term action program to obtain a competitive advantage and move it towards the world-class performance. In addition to the business strategy, the planning process focuses on two more functions, that is manufacturing and IT, through the primary focus on the manufacturing. So the challenge of CIM is taking advantage of the rapid changes in IT and manufacturing technology to design a new business strategy. Business strategy focuses on the competitive advantage and emphasizes creating a synergy among the major functional policies decisions, such as manufacturing, the system design, and product line policies. The various steps in the planning processes are described now in this particular figure. So, first is step number one, examining the strategic positioning. So, the strategic context of a firm, as stated before, is specified by the strategic intent, then current strategy and business goal. In order to specify these, the planning team should assess the firm's strengths and weaknesses, then industry based competitions, then global competition position, industry structures and dynamics, and industry maturity. This assessment will give a picture of firm's current strategic position. Then a new strategic thrust, that is acquisition or new markets or new products, can be evaluated and can be selected. These, when combined with the firm's current strategic profile, makes the firm's effective business strategy. In order to derive competitive advantage from the manufacturers, this strategy should be itself derived from the business strategy of the firm. Furthermore, strategic manufacturing requires using information strategically. Therefore, the use of IT in manufacturing should be driven by an IT strategy, which is alignment with the manufacturing strategy. Thus, we need to focus on two internal functions in creating a total picture of the firm's strategic position, that is information system and manufacturing. So that is shown in this particular figure. A firm's framework for firm's strategic positioning. So you have to keep in mind IT strategy, manufacturing strategy, and business strategy, and all these three should be aligning with each other. So this was the first step, examining the strategic positioning of the organization. Next is setting up the planning team. So the selection of the members of a strategic planning team is critical to the success of the entire efforts of world-class manufacturing. The planning team members must be key senior managers who have following characteristics like, yeah, displayed on the PPT. So the characteristics of senior managers: an established power base or authority, reputation for action or orientation, then knowledge of the company's business, then creativity and respect within the organization, and willingness to learn and grow and change. So functionally, world-class manufacturing planning team should include at least one senior person from the various functions, like it should be from manufacturing or design engineering, quality measure management, then HR or distribution or purchasing, production planning, sales and marketing, or accounting and finance. In this selection of the planning team members, a CEO can have a real impact on the progress of the world class manufacturing programs. First, the CEO can make sure that the team comprises the best executives. Second, the CEO can ensure that the team contains a balanced, skilled, and experienced or generally older managers, as well as young, aggressive champions who want to change the old ways of doing the things. Third, the CEO may understand the team's political power structure and avoid building up a team whose progress will be streamlined by the dispute between two potential or two political rivals over the future direction of the company. Step number three is assessment of the company's current manufacturing capabilities. An objective assessment of company's current manufacturing capabilities is critical for world-class manufacturing planning activity. Often companies managers take this for granted or assume that they knew where they stand today and that all members of the team are in agreement with the reference of the status of the current manufacturing capabilities. However, this is rarely the case in practice. A few managers may be aware of the current status of manufacturing capability, but rarely is there any company widely awareness and consensus about it. This step involves taking a snapshot of the company as it currently exists, maybe by interviewing the people, then plant tours in the floor area, then examination of various business records. The snapshot should create an objective manufacturing profile of the company. So that should include cost, product, facilities, IT, various skills, processes, quality level, what is the material flow, supply chain, distribution chain, capacities, new product per year, then lead time, what is inventory turn ratio, and what is the engineering mix. The next task would be to examine the plant facilities. Are they modern with the good material flow or lighting, etc.? And they chalk buildings with various bottlenecks to good manufacturing practices that you need to answer. Next, the team should examine the information system and technology, that is IT or IS, the company has in place. What processes capabilities, telecommunication networks, and databases are available across all the business units as well as from the outside? How current is the existing technology? What kind of software packages and applications are there? What is the IT budget as a percentage of net sale? What basic skills and procedures do the company's workers perform well? What about the quality cost? What percentage of sales do they represent and how they are varied historically? Similar questions should be asked for all the items that is given or we have just given listed. Often the assessment of the company's current manufacturing capabilities serves as an extremely good mechanism for educating the senior managers, not only adds to its current status, but also to the fact that it is a long way from where it should be for the world class manufacturing status. Step number 4, assessing the competition. A company wishing to win in global competition must find out as much information about each of the global competitors and their capabilities to manufacture as the assurance of the assessment, that is own plan in step number 3 that we have listed out. Of more concern than the competitor's distribution, sales force, and so on is how capably it designs and produces its product. How thoroughly can those products satisfy the customer's expectation, and what the cost structure of their manufacturing is to perform this kind of competitors analysis. One can make use of the published annual reports and company histories and even uh, their internet websites if they have them. If the competitors are in US, there are many Securities and Exchange Commission's documents that provide the valuable information. Additionally, the information may also be obtained from consultants or employees routinely hired from the competitors for this purpose. What is the purpose of this? So, the key objectives of this exercise is to understand as much as possible about how effectively global competitors manufacture the product. What kind of CIM have been implemented there? Or do they have a total quality or just in time program? Where do they source their products? From where they do say they source their products? What might be their labor cost? What kind of information system they have? Do they use e-commerce or ERP technologies? Then the information thus collected given a valuable insights to the company in terms of their background for the change it must go through in the future. If the company knows what it is nowhere close to the global competitors in the manufacturing performance, then it should perform analysis on a more global and incremental basis over 2 or 3 years while devoting itself to become a world class manufacturer. Once the company has made considerable progress towards this end, it should also know the progress that the world competitors have made as a reference for further efforts to get the competitive advantage. So this is about assessing the competition. Next is the creating the future path. So step number 5, this step ascertains where it is possible to go into the future. These roads will lead to set the capabilities needed for the competition as a manufacturer in the global markets. What proven technologies, approaches, and practices are exist? What have other companies done, not only in the same industry on a global basis, but within the other industries where the technology transfer is feasible? How can those tools be used to achieve the competitive advantage in the manufacturing? In this particular step, the emphasis is on proven technologies, practices, and philosophies. The objective is how to get, say, 75% of the benefits in 25% of the time at 25% of the total cost. So once those benefits are achieved, the company can go on the fine tune the system if it is important for the last 20 to 20, 10 to 20 or 25% of its benefits. Then next step is setting manufacturing strategies and objectives. So conventionally, manufacturing strategy objectives have been defined around the following factors. Those are capacity, facilities, technology, vertical integration, workforce, then quality, production planning, material control, and organization. So, while it is wrong to consider these factors, they are not a part of the agile objectives for agile manufacturing. They were useful in yesterday's relatively static manufacturing and business environment. When the marketers were primarily regional or national at best, of these factors, the most important for the today's global manufacturing is the global integration. This still carries the powerful implications for the competitiveness and a key strategic factor to consider while looking at the company's manufacturing strategy. The new factors which should be considered in setting a company's manufacturing strategy objectives are a new product development. One second, I will just switch that PPT. Yes. So these are the new factors: new product lead time, then inventory turnovers, manufacturing lead time, quality flexibility, customer service, avoid various waste and return on assets. All these factors address the basic competition in manufacturing. They focus on the competitive aspect of being a manufacturer today. These new strategy objectives are a must for today's dynamic manufacturing environment, where business is becoming increasingly volatile and complex in nature, and where the competition exists today in a global market rather than regional or national market. Three more steps. So, step number 7, 8, and 9. So, step number 7, developing objectives, achievement plan, and identifying the necessary tools. After listing all the manufacturing strategies objectives, we consider how to achieve each of these objectives and what kind of tools will be needed to do so. Generally, there can be different ways to achieve each manufacturing strategy objectives, and we may choose 3 to 5 of these broad statements called objective achievement plans. Having done this, we just identify tools to achieve these plans. That is figure number this we have seen this figure. Yes. So here methods like CIM, total quality control, then just in time, etc., enter into the consideration as they perceived merely as tools to accomplish the objective achievement plans. Each tool identified can either refer to a specific piece of technology or to a specific practice to be implemented, such as buy a CAD system or implement robotics in the floor or install a flexible manufacturing system, that is FMS. So this is the manufacturing planning hierarchy. Business strategy objectives should be followed by manufacturing strategic objectives. Then you should have an objective achievement plan, and then you have to decide various tools for objective achievement plan that we have just discussed. So second last step, step number 8, gaining top management commitment. In total quality management, if you remember, if you have studied, then gaining the top management commitment is, you can say, one of the first initial steps. So step 7 here completes the process for delivering a manufacturing strategic plan. This step, the next step is to build the awareness of the implications of implementing each one of the tools identified in previous step. Along with this, the critical issue of obtaining commitment from the company's top management. Often the company's top management seems ready to lead the company forward to new world of manufacturing. But the management support quickly vanishes as the comprehend amount of money, time, and effort are profound changes that are needed within the culture of the company to affect the overall program for becoming a world-class manufacturer. Therefore, in this particular step, for each objective achievement plan, the identified tools are associated with the company function, that is department, which are responsible for its implementation. This exercise brings company-wide awareness of the new program and getting commitment for them. Last step, step number 9, creating the implementation program. After considering all the objectives, achievement plans, that is OAPs, the and the tools to implement the manufacturing and business strategies, having obtained an understanding of the implications of the uh, implementing each of the OAPs and leading India tools, uh, and having obtained commitment to the concept of their implementation, the company is ready to create its world-class manufacturing program. The OAPs and the tools are grouped and sorted into an overall program by searching for similarities uh, in their applications or tasks or projects, and perhaps to departments that will involved with each implementation. The idea is to keep each project relatively limited in scope and easily identifiable. Once the project has been identified, a cost benefit analysis is carried out for each one of them, covering, covering the strategic as well as the financial viewpoint. All too often, the strategic benefits from such projects are ignored or subordinated to financial aspects that are irrelevant for long-term competition strength of the company. To excel and profit and survive, the company must take a strategic